Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. Some breaking transfer news this morning as it is being confirmed by plenty of UK news outlets that Liverpool are looking to complete a deal for Stoke City's Xherdan Shaqiri. We've known for a while that this one was on the cards. It's one of many transfers that's been kind of stalled by the World Cup because we all know that Shaqiri did take part in that for Switzerland and had a pretty decent tournament, I think it's fair to say, but we've known for a while about Liverpool's interest, and it sounds like now they're finally trying to get the deal over the line. It's understood that his release clause is around about 13.5 million, and while it is said that Liverpool are entering talks and negotiations, I imagine that fee is going to be fairly fixed, and for that reason this transfer saga probably won't rumble on for fairly long. I think once the fee's agreed, it's all about maybe certain like parachute payments, paying in installments, maybe add-ons and stuff like that, and things like agent fees, and of course agreeing personal terms and wages and stuff like that with Shaqiri. So, it's not necessarily going to be done by this evening. Maybe it is, we don't know. Liverpool do like to get their business done quickly when it comes to how it's represented in the public eye, as we saw with Fabinho early on in this summer transfer window. But yeah, it's not one that's going to rumble on. I don't think we can count on having another Fekir saga on our hands, which I think we're all incredibly grateful for. Yeah, it's understood that, he favours Liverpool. He wants a move to join up with Jurgen Klopp and his side, and Stoke are basically resigned to him leaving and are pretty much fine with the guy leaving for Liverpool. I mean, apparently Liverpool want the business done by the time they go away on their US tour, which is around about the 20th. So I think that's maybe around 9 or 10 days from now. So this should get wrapped up fairly quickly. I mean, when you think about how much time Jurgen Klopp likes to give players in terms of a holiday between when they finish at the World Cup or in their respective international games and when they actually join up with the squad, they finished the World Cup. Switzerland got knocked out on the 3rd of July. So that suggests that he'll be joining up with the squad around about the 24th, which is midway through the pre-season tour. We've already played one game by then, but we've got a couple more games in the US after that on the 26th and the 28th. So hopefully we'll get to see a little bit of Shaqiri in that US tour. Obviously, that's when Liverpool are playing against their most high-quality opponents. I think those are the games against Manchester City and Manchester United or something like that. So it would be interesting to see Shaqiri play in those games. And I think the most interesting thing is the fact that with Firmino coming back even later, and the fact that I think Firmino is a notoriously slow starter, it normally, I've noticed, takes him a while to get going in pre-season. The first few games, he always feels like he's feeling his way. It does feel a little bit like there's sometimes a drop-off in fitness. We know that the lad who likes a bevy, I've not done the logo. Oh, for God's sake. Back in a sec. Professional as ever here on LFC Focus. But yeah, Firmino, he always takes a while to get back to full fitness. And I think given that you've already got Mane and Salah, who are coming back in the US tour as well, so they'll probably be fully fit for that game against West Ham. I mentioned in my starting 11 prediction show video, do check that out if you haven't seen that already. It's essentially predicting how Liverpool are going to line up on the opening day of the season. That if the opportunity arises to play someone in Firmino's place, then I think Liverpool might just take it. And then, if things aren't going our way on opening day, we can always bring Firmino on for the last half hour or something like that. So I think it's possible. Should Shaqiri impress as well, and should he arrive when he's expected to for pre-season, then maybe, I don't know, we see Salah move to the centre and Shaqiri playing out wide or something like that. Maybe, a 4-2-3-1 where Solanke plays up top, Salah drops a little bit deep, Shaqiri's out on the right-hand side again. So, he's going to have opportunities, I think it's fair to say, and I think the most important thing to bear in mind here is that while Shaqiri, he did have a difficult campaign at Stoke last season, it never really did get going for him at Stoke. Last season was actually his best season in terms of goals and assists return. You've got to think about the type of Shaqiri that Liverpool want to buy, and I think the one that we're actually expecting to arrive is essentially the one that played for Bayern about 4 years ago now. When he was back there, his last full season at the club under Pep Guardiola as well, so under a coach of a similar standard to Jurgen Klopp. I think in 17 league games, he got 6 goals, which isn't bad considering that there's probably quite a few substitute appearances in there as well. He wasn't necessarily, a crucial first team player. Whereas at Stoke, he played 36 league games last season, I think, and he got 8 goals, which, isn't great. But you've got to bear in mind that also, like I said, at Bayern, he's under a better coach. He'll be surrounded by world-class players as well. So the service he's getting is a lot better. I think he'll get that at Liverpool as well. He won't necessarily be the focal point of the team. So I think defenders will be focusing a lot more on Salah, on Mane, on Firmino, on all of Liverpool's stars, and on players like Naby Keita, who will be creating a lot of space in midfield as well. And I think that will certainly help Shaqiri, that he won't have as much focus on him. There won't be as much pressure on him as well, and he'll just be able to deliver the kind of football that we know he is capable of. So, if you are really, really down about this one, if you are hoping that we get someone in better than Shaqiri, if you do feel like the whole transfer is just a waste of time and you can't be convinced otherwise, then don't forget that, as Alex Ferguson said, you can always buy loads and loads of forwards, loads and loads of wingers and strikers, because at the end of the day, you can always sell them afterwards. And I think Shaqiri for 13.5 million, he could probably have a stinker of a season for Liverpool where, he plays 10 games and gets 2 goals. And if we want to sell him, we could probably sell him at a similar price, because we've almost lucked out and Stoke have almost had pulled their own pants down with that relegation release clause that was put into the contract. So I think it does represent good business. If we don't sign someone like a Fekir or a Dybala even, or an Ousmane Dembele, anyone like that, then I would be a little bit more worried, because I think I don't want Shaqiri being that high on the pecking order. I do want him to be purely a rotational player, whereas I think we need another forward who is going to come in more regularly for Mane and Salah and Firmino and give those players a proper rest without dropping off the overall quality of the front three. So, if this is the last signing of the summer, I won't necessarily be happy. But if we do bring in a Fekir or someone like that, then it will put a much more positive spin on the move for him. And it's worth remembering that a lot of the players that we do want, like Nabil Fekir, like, your Dembele's and stuff like that, a lot of them are still at the World Cup. So those deals aren't going to get done anytime soon. Whereas we might just want to get the Shaqiri deal out of the way so we can then put all of our attention towards negotiations for a slightly better player. So I'm actually fine with the deal. I think he could do very well for Liverpool. Like I said, I want to see the Shaqiri that was at Bayern. I think, if Jurgen Klopp thinks that he can turn the player's career around, if he thinks he can get the best out of Shaqiri, and we've got to bear in mind that we know Liverpool have been interested in Shaqiri for a very, very long time. I think it's been about 4 years or even 5 years now since we first tried to sign him. There's obviously potential there. There's obviously interest. There's obviously a belief in the club that we can get a lot out of this player. So I think, get behind him and just see what happens, to be honest, because at 13.5 million, if it doesn't work out, it's hardly the end of the world. And in other news, this Shaqiri deal is supposedly something that Stoke are trying to get over the line fairly smoothly, because they want to form a good relationship for Liverpool so that they can then bring in one of Wilson or Ojo on loan. It was mentioned recently when Harry Wilson signed his new contract to Liverpool. I think it's another 5-year deal, only 6 months after he signed a previous 5-year deal. The club obviously rate him very highly, and they are interested in letting him go out on loan again. And Stoke were on the list of a very long list of Champions League clubs not Champions League, Championship clubs that wanted to bring him in. I think for both him and Ojo, it would represent a pretty good move for Wilson, especially because I think at Hull City, they were sort of middling ground in the Championship. They were actually closer to relegation than promotion when Harry Wilson arrived, whereas Stoke, it's very much going to be about securing automatic promotion. I think I'd be reasonably pleased if either of the players go there, because I think while there was a toxic atmosphere around Stoke last season, it certainly looks like things are improving over summer. They look like they are going places. They've got a new manager in. I think all the right players like Joe Allen and Peter Crouch and new signing Moritz Bauer, all of them want to stay at the club. So I think it would be a good atmosphere and a good way to actually train up our players a little bit more, to send them out to Stoke. And with the fact that they are aiming to be at the very top of their league, it gives the players exposure to the kind of pressure that they will also receive at Liverpool, where they are expected to win every game. So I'd be happy with either Wilson or Ojo going out on there on loan. So hopefully if this Shaqiri deal does go well, one of them happens. And then finally, a little bit more news for you. Markovic has basically been told to go. I mean, we all remember Lazar Markovic just about. He is still at Liverpool. I think he's only got 12 more months on his deal now. Apparently he's been offered to a few clubs in Turkey, I believe it is. At the moment, none of them have bit on the offer. None of them are really that interested in him at all, which, is a common theme at Liverpool. It does look like maybe he goes out on one more loan spell and then we just let him go on a free. Bit disappointing given that we paid 20 million quid for him and we've paid him a lot of wages over his time at Liverpool, but obviously we want to get him off the roster. He's had no chances this pre-season. I don't think Jurgen Klopp or any of the coaching staff rate him, so hopefully we can offload him. That remains to be seen. And then finally, Liverpool are reportedly interested in Ante Rebic of Croatia, still playing at the World Cup, and Eintracht Frankfurt. He got something like 9 goals in 28 games last season, which is an okay return. It's not too bad. You'd hopefully expect a little bit better from a club in the Bundesliga, a club like Eintracht Frankfurt, who are pretty good. I think they had Kovac, he's the bloke who's now the manager of Bayern Munich, so he's obviously been playing under a pretty good coach as well. However, we are reportedly one of many English clubs. I think Spurs, Arsenal and Man United were also reportedly interested, and Bayern Munich are still the front runners to sign him, which is unsurprising given that his former coach Kovac has now moved to Bayern Munich as well. So maybe that one gets over the line. I think a lot of it depends on Liverpool's financial situation, you know, especially if we are now reigniting our interest in a goalkeeper after the Carrier situation yesterday. If we're now thinking, okay, we now want to redirect about 80 million quid of our budget towards a top quality goalkeeper, we maybe lose a bit of the money that we were hoping to spend on a forward like Fekir. So maybe after Shaqiri, we're looking at someone like Rebic and thinking he's reportedly probably only around 20 or 25 million quid rather than like the 50 million pound price tags that were being put on players like Fekir. So it's one that will develop quite a lot over the next few days, and I think it is very interesting to see where Liverpool direct their cash flow between now and the end of the season and the pre-season, and just, you know, how much money they've got and where they are willing to spend it. But yeah, that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. I'm sorry that the logo wasn't there for the first half of it. If you did enjoy this video, why not give it a like? If you're new around here as well, hit that subscribe button there. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days as well. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll be back soon, hopefully with some more exciting transfer news. Bye for now.